So this is where it starts getting a little bit more tricky. What do you do when you are adding integers with different signs? Meaning you have some negatives and you have some positives. So we're going to go ahead and again model both of these scenarios with number lines and counters. Okay, so using that same idea, I'm starting at -6 on my number line. So I'll go ahead and bring my arrow down to -6, or you can just find -6 on your number line and point to it. And I am adding 3, or I'm adding a +3. So if I'm adding a positive value, that means I'm going to be going that way on my number line, right? Just a regular addition. So it doesn't really matter that I'm starting on the negative side. I'm still just increasing in a positive or going to the right. So starting at -3, -6, I'm adding 3, 1, 2, and 3. So I'm ending at a -3. So -6 plus a +3 is then going to equal -3. And I can show that on my diagram. So I'm starting at -6 and I'm adding a +3. So 1, 2, and 3. Let me do my little labels here. So -6. 5, 4, 3, so that's -3. And so I'm still at a negative value here. Okay, now I can do the same problem, but I can model it with my counters. So here we have this -6 plus 3. So I'm going to take out 6 negative integers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I am going to add 3 positive integers to it. 1, 2, and 3. All right, so what do you notice now with these integers? Well, you'll see that we have a couple of pairs here of negative and positive, and then we have some extra negatives here. Now, if we think of 1 negative plus 1 positive, together, that is what we call a zero pair. Because if you add them together, they equal 0. A negative plus a positive, basically think of it like canceling each other out. So this is 1 0 pair, a second 0 pair, and a third 0 pair. So all of these cancel each other out. That just equals 0. So what am I left with? 1, 2, and 3 negative integers. So again, the counters show -6 plus a +3 is going to be -3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw that same idea here. I have my 6 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to add those 3 positives, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to show the 0 pairs and how they cancel out. So I'm going to write here, cancel out. You're canceling out those 0 pairs. So this set cancels out, this cancels out, and this cancels out. And what are you left with? Here they are. So actually when I write 0 pairs, 0 pairs cancel out. Okay, so let's look at the next one. So in this problem, we're going to go back to the number lines. We have 6 plus a -3. Okay, so that means that we are going to start at a +6 on our number line. So go ahead and move your paper clip or your finger to the +6, and we are going to add a negative value. So if we're adding a negative value, that means we are going to be moving this way on our number line because we are increasing the negatives. So that means I'm going to count to the left, 1, 2, 3, and I land at a +3. And I can show that on my open number line by just marking it. I can say I'm starting at 6. I'm adding a -3, so 1, 2, and 3, which means I am landing at 3. There we go. So I've landed at 3. All right, now let's model that same idea with our integer chips. So here we go. I'm going to count out 6 positives. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, let's scoot this over a little bit. 5, and 6. And I'm going to add 3 negatives. So 1, 2, and 3. And I can see that I have 1, 2, 3 sets of 0 pairs. So this 1 plus negative 1 equals 0. 1 plus negative 1, that equals 0. 1 plus negative 1, that equals 0. So what am I left with? What's left over? 1, 2, 3 positive chips. So 6 plus negative 3 is a positive 3. And then I can go ahead and draw that here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm adding 3 negatives, 1, 2, and 3. Those 0 pairs cancel out, and I can show that by just crossing them out. And then what am I left with? These 3 positive integers. Okay, so when you are adding integers of different signs, meaning one is negative and one is positive, you do that by finding the difference between the two numbers. And then you use the sign of the number with the larger absolute value. Okay, so basically, if I were to use this negative 6 plus 3 example, I'm going to find the difference between those two. So what's the difference between 6 and 3? 3, because you need 3 more to equal, if you're starting at 3, you need 3 more to build up to 6. So the difference is 3, so 3. And then I use the sign of the number with the larger absolute value. So the number that's larger is the 6. And it is a negative, so the answer takes on the negative. And the same idea here using the other example. The difference between these two is, between 6 and 3 is 3. And I use the sign of the number with the larger absolute value. So the 6 is larger and it is positive, so then it is a positive 3.